But has this leadership race really healed all of the cracks from the twilight of Justin Trudeau's leadership? Joining me now are three Liberal MPs who have called for Justin Trudeau's resignation. Wayne Long is a New Brunswick MP, Rob Oliphant is an Ontario MP, and joining me here in studio, Sophie Chattel is an MP from Quebec. It's good to see the three of you. Thank you for being here at a busy time. And Wayne Long, you were an early adopter of this particular movement, and you had said you weren't going to run again, but now you're back on the ballot with Mark Carney. I mean, what's the dynamic shift in Atlantic Canada from your view with these changes?
Oh, the shift is incredible. I mean, Mark called me actually the day before he put his name in the ring and asked if I would reconsider. I had a great chat with him. I felt a connection. He's transparent. He was authentic. And, my former life was business, small business. So, we had a good chat about things, the economy, and I really felt a connection with him. And, from there, I mean, the momentum is incredible. I've not seen certainly anything in my riding of St. John, Kennebecasis, and all across New Brunswick for sure. I mean, the calls we're getting, I'm being stopped in the pedway. I think the thing that encourages me the most, there's a lot of Liberals that are coming back to the party. I think a lot of us felt lost, a lot of us centrists, if you will, red Tories or blue Liberals. And I really think the uptake in members and people showing some interest from Mark Carney is incredible. I mean, we saw it last night, obviously, at the convention, 86%.
Right.
Calls we had today are unlike anything I've seen really since 2015.
So, Rob Oliphant, I wonder, you endorsed Chrystia Freeland, and I was surprised by the margin yesterday. I think Chrystia Freeland was as well. I mean, 8% versus 86% is quite the gap for the two perceived frontrunners. I wonder that going into this election now with Mr. Carney, do you think he was tested enough in this? What are your thoughts on his preparedness for an election campaign that sounds like it's going to be over and done with by the end of April or the first bit of May?
Well, we had a great weekend, and Mr. Carney has come out, I think, just ablazing with energy and excitement, and I think we're ready. The results, I think, a month ago might have been a surprise, but I think in the last few weeks we've recognized that Mark has covered the country well, and he is ready and fit for purpose. And the dynamic of the uncertainty that Canadians have with respect to Trump and the tariffs and the economy in Canada have propelled him into this place at this time. And so I'm excited. For me, this, I did call for Justin Trudeau to resign in December. And it was less about frustration or anger with Justin Trudeau as a person, rather it had to do with the mood of the country and no longer listening to the message we were trying to get out. So we've had an opportunity. I think Mr. Carney has a set of skills from his previous lives, several of them. And this last month, he's been on the road and he's been with challenging candidates. But, our leadership campaign was a little bit dull because Liberals are united. And we have one message and one voice. And so I know that people thought it was a little dull. For us, that's a little bit exciting. It reminds people who Liberals are.
Well, bland works, right? As was famously said. Sophie Chattel, I mean, United Now, I mean, you were part of you were collecting signatures, right? Part of the letter effort to get the change in leadership at the top of the party. What is your sense of where things stand with what you've heard from Mr. Carney, certainly after coming to caucus today, and how quickly you'll be ready to deal with a general election?
Well, like Rob, I would say that we were responding to the mood in our riding, and people kept saying, I want change. I don't want to go back with a Poilievre government, and especially not now where Poilievre's government would be way too risky for the time we are. But I think that we were responding to that, and that's, Prime Minister Trudeau was a great Prime Minister for all the years he led our party. But time has changed, and so our citizens wanted to have change as well. But the mood of the country, David, is, I would echo my colleague, is amazing. The Pontiac, Kitigan, Zibi riding, I like to say it's a bit of a Canadian mosaic because we have rural English, rural French in the north, and we have multicultural. And Mark came to Chelsea, made an event where I called all those leaders in the community. And with unity, he's the man to face the challenges that Canada has right now. Trump, of course,
Right.
but also major economic transition that we have. And community said one thing: he inspires trust.
So look, he has a resume that is impressive, having led central banks in Canada and the United Kingdom. But Sophie Chattel, you've seen the attacks from the Conservatives. Even before he was officially the leader, they saw what was coming and they've responded to it. In particular, they're targeting his personal wealth, his financial assets. He's in compliance with the law as it exists. He says he'll disclose everything to the ethics commissioner, but there's a push for him to disclose it from the opposition before the election happens, before the vote. Should Mark Carney just make this problem go away and put everything on the table earlier than he has to by law to just avoid any suspicion and challenges?
Well, I think it's a bit rich from Pierre Poilievre to attack him on that when he doesn't seek security clearance to be an effective prime minister. To me, it's a bit rich, and it's just being, partisan, and that's not what the country needs right now.
I get that argument, but he's never held elected office. Mark Carney's held public office, so he has been vetted. But this is going to be something you're going to have to deal with politically, one way or another. So do you think, regardless of Mr. Poilievre's security clearance, should Mark Carney just do this to take it away from the Conservatives?
Well, I think, as Mark said, he will comply with all the law and have all the security clearance to enter the role of prime minister, and he will.
Okay, Wayne Long, do you think that will work? Because it seems the longer Mark Carney goes without full disclosure of his assets, and I'm not in any way suggesting he's done anything wrong here, it's going to keep coming up, and it's going to keep being run in ads, which are in heavy rotation on networks here like the CBC.
I think it's pretty clear to Canadians when they see the difference between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney. I mean, it's pretty stark. I mean, Pierre Poilievre has spent the last 2 years basically emulating Donald Trump. He's been combative with everybody. He's been dismissive of the press. They were genuinely happy with glee when Donald Trump won. Again, like Sophie said, it's pretty rich for a guy who wouldn't get a security clearance. I mean, every leader in the House of Commons got a security clearance except Pierre Poilievre. Question is, what's he got to hide? And you look at the response to Mark Carney, obviously surging, emerging, now the leader. MP after MP comes out, carbon tax Carney. And Canadians are looking for more than that. I mean, Canada right now is faced arguably with the greatest threat to our sovereignty in our history. And the best Pierre Poilievre can do is have a press conference that has slogans, which aren't solutions. He's divisive. And, liken Mark Carney to a security blanket for the country. I think, generally Canadians are scared right now. And like Mark said last night, we are in dark times. But I think Mark gives that soothing confidence, that aura of confidence that he's been there, he's managed economies, he knows what he's doing. He's saying, look, we are going to have some speed bumps, but we can build the strongest economy in the G7. And I absolutely know that Canadians are looking for that. They're not looking for somebody to divide us. Mark Carney's the leader we need at this time. His experience backs that up.
Right. So, Rob Oliphant, I get that he's carried the day with Liberals, right? I mean, that's obvious, and he's made that argument. But if this is in any way a vulnerability, the Conservatives, they will hit this with overwhelming and relentless force and devote massive financial assets at it. So, is it okay to just say, I'm going to comply with the laws they exist, which, as everyone else has done, or just take that extra step to take it off the table?
Well, I think the issues in this next election are about trust, confidence, strength, and capability to lead our country at this time. Those are the issues that Canadians are looking for. And I don't think it's a partisan issue. People in Don Valley West, my riding in Toronto, are looking for competence and a leader they can trust. Mark Carney's a banker, and by instinct, he understands compliance. He understands disclosure. He understands what he needs to do. I have absolutely no doubts about his ethics. I have no doubt about his compliance. I have no doubt about the confidence Canadians will have in him. In my riding, I am finding people from the far left to the far right and everything in between are looking at him and saying, this is the leader we want, someone who will unite, not divide, someone who will inspire, who will have confidence, and will take us one step at a time through a very treacherous period in Canadian history. That's not Pierre Poilievre. It simply is not. Right. This is the man that I think we need at this time, and I think we'll see it. And it's going to be an interesting election. Pierre Poilievre has to retool. He has to figure out what he's doing, because we don't even know who he is or what he's about, other than the fact he didn't like Justin Trudeau, he didn't want a carbon tax. Right now, we have someone who is going to steer the ship and keep us going and make sure that Canada from coast to coast to coast stays united and sovereign. This is about our independence. This is the stakes are high, and nobody's going to trust Pierre Poilievre. They're going to trust Mark Carney.
Okay, the stakes are high. The time is short. I literally have 30 seconds, so I just want a quick yes/no from either of you. He is going to be Prime Minister. He does not have a seat in the House of Commons. No one has ever been Prime Minister without ever having been elected. John Turner was Prime Minister without a seat at the time, but he'd been an MP in the past. We've heard that he has asked Jean Charest to join the cabinet without being elected, and that has been turned down. My colleague Louis Blouin is reporting that. All of this suggests to me the need to go to the polls fast. So, Rob Oliphant, do you think Parliament will come back on the 24th, or do you think we're into an election before then?
Let's just say my signs are ready. We have a campaign office. My volunteers are pumped, and we're ready to go. I think we need an election quickly, and Canadians need to say we will elect Mark Carney as an MP and as the Prime Minister.
Sophie Chattel?
Oh, I'm ready.
So
Same.
you guys
Yes.
want an election now. This is different than before.
I hope to have an election, and what's important is that we have a strong team to face the challenges that we'll need to face as a country. So get an election, get a strong government, a strong message, united to face Trump.
Okay, and Wayne Long, you're going to be on that team, right? After saying you weren't going to run, you're back in the saddle, you're going to be part of this. And do you think Parliament comes back, or do you think it's off to the races?
It's off to the races. I mean, look, in the end, elections are job interviews, right? Canadians can interview both of these candidates, make a decision between Pierre Poilievre's negative policies, Mark Carney's positive vision for the future. Let Canadians decide, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, and we've got to let you go because we are out of time. I want to thank you all for being here. Sophie Chattel, Rob Oliphant, and Wayne Long. Thank you very much.
Thank you.